भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया। भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तान् समेतान् महाभागान् उपलभ्य वसुत्तमा पूजयम् आस धर्मज्ञो देशकालविभागवित्। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin, for reading the text. Is there anybody who would like to do word to word?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can do.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Kindly read the word to word.
Hare Krishna. Tan.
Tan.
All of them.
All of them.
Sametan.
Sametan.
Assembled together.
Assembled together.
Mahabhagan.
Mahabhagan.
All greatly powerful.
All greatly powerful.
Upalabhya.
Upalabhya.
Having received.
Having received.
Vasu Uttama.
Vasu Uttama.
The best among the Vasus. Bhishma Deva.
The best among the Vasus, Bhishma Deva.
Pujyam Asha.
Pujyam
Asha.
Welcomed.
Welcome.
Dharmagna.
Dharmagya.
One who knows religious principles.
One who knows religious principles.
Desha.
Desha.
Place.
Place.
Kala.
Kala.
Time.
Time.
Vibhagavit.
Vibhagavit.
One who knows the adjustment of place and time.
One who knows the adjustment of place and time.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Is there anybody who would like to read the translation and purport?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Kindly proceed.
Translation. Bhishma Dev, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there. For he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Expert religionists know perfectly well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. All the great acharyas or religious preachers or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of the religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duties to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of the time and place. Bhishma Dev was one of the 12 great authorities in preaching this cult of devotional service, and therefore he could receive and welcome all powerful sages assembled there at his deathbed from all parts of the universe. He was certainly unable at that time to welcome and receive them physically because he was neither at his home nor in a normal healthy condition. But he was quite fit by the activities of his sound mind, and therefore he could utter sweet words with hearty expressions, and all of them were well received. One can perform one's duty by physical work, by mind, and by words. And he knew well how to utilize them in the proper place, and therefore there was no difficulty for him to receive them, although physically unfit. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Hari Govind Prabhu and Soni Mataji, for helping me with the translation and purport, and Shashwin Prabhu for reading the text so nicely. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we now hand over to you. Thank you very much. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Offer my respects to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Thank you for allowing me to be attempting to be of service. So today's text again, we're reading from the chapter Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. And the text is, Bhishma Dev, who was the best among the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. So does anyone think there's something amazing happening here? Is there anything of note that stands out as remarkable in this verse today?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can try. So so now Bhishma Dev is on the Banshaya. He's sleeping on the bed of arrows. So he's not in his house, and he's not, I mean, if you're sleeping on the bed of arrows, obviously you have bled. But in spite of all that, he is having a lot of visitors. And these are very great, powerful rishis who have come there to listen to what he has to say.
Very good, thank you. Does anyone else have some thoughts? What's remarkable? Other things that are remarkable? Seem amazing to you? Yes.
Yeah. Despite being physically unfit, he was still able to, welcome them, with the activities of his sound mind.
Yeah. Of course, all of the pastimes of the Lord are super wonderful and amazing. That I find that amazing, because if I have a headache or something or a toothache, I'm not always able to carry on conversations in the same way with other people. And I think we all have experienced personally and with others that sometimes it's very difficult for us to function because of the pains and disturbances of this world. Isn't that true? So this is one thing, which is very, very amazing, that he was able to welcome them with sweet word and hearty expression, as if nothing was the matter. So that's amazing. What a wonderful example. And maybe we might feel not so happy because we're not like that. When whatever it may be, we all have different abilities. Someone can add numbers in their head better than someone else. Someone cooks better, sings better. Someone's a better speaker. Someone can lift so much weight. So many things. We all have different abilities. And there's always someone who has more abilities than us. And rather than feel depressed or even resentful that how this person has so much money, we might ask, oh, you're doing so well, but what has been your method? So we can have that if that's what we want. The tendency to feel envious, I was going to say it's spiritual, but it's something very, very deep. Lord Krishna says, Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata in his Bhagavad Gita. He tells Arjuna that the living beings, the souls, They're born into Icha and Dvesha, desire and hate. Yes, hate. It may not be something we want to look at, but sometimes we become quite resentful, hateful, even some people, towards those who have more than us, who have things that we want. You know, you come out of your flat and the neighbor has a new vehicle, new car. It happens. It goes, we don't always feel happy for the person. Oh, how they have that. I wanted that. Or whatever it may be. Because we're trying to be supreme. Number one, we're trying to be God. When we say people want to be God, it doesn't mean they walk around thinking, I want to be God. But we want to be God in the sense that we want to be the best. That's wanting to be God. And the proof that we might have some of that is that we don't always feel so happy when someone has more than us, because we want that. So we're born into this realm. We always have desire, but we have material desire. We want things for our material, temporary situation. And therefore, there is a possibility of becoming envious or jealous of others. If we didn't have as much strong desires to have things, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if someone had whatever they had. But because we have strong desires, it can create jealousy and resentfulness. And ultimately, we're in this world because we don't like the fact that we're not God. We're devotees now. We're on the path of devotion, and that may be very, very, it may not be something even we're conscious of, but it is there to one tiny degree or the other. So how can we overcome? By becoming free of material desires, by bhakti. So here, Bhishma Dev is showing such a almost inconceivable. He's laying on a bed of arrows. He's laying on a bed of arrows. Who can do that? Right? I mean, some of us can tolerate a headache and we keep working or something. But there are people who have that ability. Our ISKCON founder, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, he, not very long ago, showed us this example. In the last 6 months of his stay here, more than one doctor pointed out that any ordinary person would be unable to think because of the pain. His body had lost so much weight. The bones were pressing on the nerves. He hardly ate for 6 months. Something little, maybe chapati, some little milk, something. But more or less, he didn't eat for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. There was nothing left of his material body. And we can see, we can watch the video. He is just like Bhishma Dev. Smiling, talking, asking his disciples, how are you? Are you eating? How is your family? We have, we're so fortunate to have as our spiritual master, as our direct connection to Krishna, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, who, as they say, walked the walk. He lived Bhagavad Gita. And what is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita? What does Bhagavad Gita begin with in the second chapter? Who can think of some things? What are the first few teachings of Bhagavad Gita?
Prabhuji, the second chapter says, you are not this body, you are the soul.
Right? Someone else, some other advice of Krishna, some other instructions from Krishna?
That pain is temporary in this world. Nothing, pain or happiness, everything is temporary.
Yes, one should not be macha sparsha sakantaya shitoshna shukutukuda agama payano nityas tam tatika shabarata. One must learn to tolerate the very beginning instruction of Bhagavad Gita. Forget about rasas and all these things. The first instruction. One must learn to tolerate the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, loss and gain, honor and dishonor. And then I believe the next verse, Lord Krishna says, that one who is not disturbed by happiness and distress is eligible for liberation. That is something we can focus on. Lord Krishna says that we can become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. And what does he say is the qualification? Someone can put it in their own words. What does he say is the qualification? That we must become equal-minded. We have the same, we're able to function in the same way, no matter what's going on. That people are talking bad about us, people talking good about us. We get a promotion, we lose our job, we have a bad indigestion, family members are acting crazy, or disturbing. Equal, one who is equal and whose mind remains the same, just like Bhishma did. That's a very extreme example, that he is laying on this bed of arrows. He's not eating, he's not drinking very well, and still he's functioning as if nothing is going on. And our own Srila Prabhupada. And there are many, many examples within history. And I'm sure all of us do have some ability. We do have some ability, more than, hopefully, more than what we started out with, that we're able to tolerate. And tolerate doesn't mean that the pain goes away or the disturbance goes away, but we practice not getting upset. In the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and this is so important, why speak about this so much? Well, Bhishma Dev is giving this example, and Srila Prabhupada directly speaks about it. And Lord Krishna explains to us that this ability to be equal-minded qualifies us for, because why? Think about it. At the time of leaving this world, we may have been, our body may have been sick for some time, there may be pain, there may be so many things. But if we're able to practice detachment, then we'll actually be able to think of Krishna much better. Just let it all happen. Not fighting it, not trying to change it, not protesting, just letting it be. What Lord Krishna calls being neutral. The transcendental platform of neutrality. I don't hate it. I'm not trying to get away from it. I don't like it. just neutral. I am focusing my mind and my activities on Krishna, just like we do. We do this. Of course, all of us do this to some degree. You're walking and it's raining, and what can you do? You're going to get wet. When you get home, you get dry. You just put up with it. So this neutrality. So in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled, what is that chapter called? There's the three modes of nature. I forget what the 14th chapter is. But in the 14th chapter, our 13th chapter is nature, enjoying consciousness, and 14th chapter is the three modes of nature, right? So Arjuna asks Krishna. Arjuna says, Krishna, what are the symptoms of someone who is transcendental? How can I know how much I'm on the transcendental platform or someone else? And so he answered, Lord Krishna answered, the one who is steady in no matter what is happening, specifically with the modes of nature, ignorance, passion, and goodness. Just like sometimes our mind is very lazy and sleepy. Sometimes our mind becomes very passionate. We want to get something, have it quick. And in the mode of goodness, we want to read and we want to study and we want to think and we want to be peaceful. So Lord Krishna says, one who is equal, remaining neutral, just observing. Oh, my material mind and body is sleeping. That's interesting. But I don't have to sleep necessarily. Oh, my body, my mind has these desires to eat this or do this or have this. So Lord Krishna advises, don't hate it. Don't get upset. Oh, my mind wants to do whatever. Don't get upset. Just observe it. Oh, and let it go. Not just let it go, but continue meditating on Krishna and carrying out our duties in Krishna consciousness. And interestingly, Lord Krishna says we have to tolerate goodness too. Like, I don't want to cook in the kitchen, it's too dirty. So what? Krishna's going to starve because you don't like dirt? I mean, it's not right for the kitchen to be dirty. But if you get too caught up in goodness, everything has to be clean, everything has to be nice, then that's your attachment. That's not devotion to Krishna. Sometimes we have to do something which doesn't seem good, but actually is the right thing to do for Krishna. So if we're too attached to goodness, everything nice and peaceful, no one getting hurt, so that's another kind of attachment. So Lord Krishna advises practice it. And I'm certainly not Bhishmadev, that's for sure. But I can say that I practice and I have practiced, and I'm sure all of us do. And we have to continue. And the more that we can do this, the easier it will be. The less bothered we are by duality, the better, the more peaceful we will be in general. And just in general, we'll be more peaceful, not so upset. Oh, my mind's so lusty. All right, so my mind, that's not me. I'm not lusty. My mind is. I'm not sleepy. My mind is. This person is really in the mode, this person's mind and body is really in the mode of ignorance. They're so irritable and negative, and pessimist. So then you're tolerating those modes. But you don't get upset. Oh, wow, really in the modes today. But we don't hate it. And neither, Lord Krishna says, should we want it? Which, who would want ignorance or who would want passion? But we might want goodness. Again, especially in the beginning stages of bhakti, we may get depressed or unhappy that, oh, my mind is not good. I don't have a pure mind. And we can feel upset and we can feel disheartened. So that's another kind of tolerating. We have to just tolerate the reality of our existence. And the reality is we have this body and we have this mind, and it's not us. And after some time, more and more, our mind and body will function in the mode of goodness or pure goodness, but not right away. We're going to have, our mind may, we may have some really demonic bad thoughts go through our mind. So we can apologize, oh, Krishna, I'm sorry, but just keep going because it's not you, not me. I'm responsible for it, but it's not that I'm an evil person. I'm a horrible person. I'm in the mode of ignorance. No, you're not. Your mind and your body is in the mode of ignorance, but not you or not me. And so these are the thinkings. This is the mental activity of making progress in genuine transcendence that we, as Srila Prabhupada, instruct. It's not my idea. What do I know? I don't know anything. But in the Bhagavad Gita, he instructs us that the very first thing to do as a devotee is to cultivate this transcendental consciousness. Really do it. Really act it. You know, when I'm chanting my japa and my mind and body feels sleepy, we just ignore it and keep going, at least for some time. We practice not acting like our body and mind. We have to do it. And the more we do it, you know, what do they say? You get what you put into it. So it's not easy. You know, it's exercise. That's what it is. It's exercise. So either you lift weights and you get all tired, or you ride some fitness machine and you get very tired and it's hard. And who wants to do that? But you become fit. You know, there's a good benefit. So it is exercise. You know, we're sitting to have prasadam, and we could finish the whole plate, but just to be the boss of our mind, we say, I'm going to leave this little portion just to do it. I'm going to practice, because rather than you know, when you start eating, you just want to keep eating. It tastes good. You just want to eat. It tastes good. And it's not necessarily because you need to eat. So, you know, little things like this. I could take prasadam now, but I'm going to wait 15 minutes. I'm going to wait half an hour. Just to stand a little stronger in my position as a tiny spirit soul. Practice. And of course, we don't have to go out of our way too much. Every day there's something, whatever it may be, you know, don't feel like brushing the teeth. Whatever it is, there's always something that we have to practice pushing. We have to practice rising above, going beyond, going past our mind and our body. Not so far that it's torture or that we become hard-hearted or something. We don't hurt ourselves, but little things here and there, it helps. Like we have a codicy. So we could eat 3 times a day. There's nothing wrong with that. 4 times a day. Or I'm just going to have fruits and water until 3 p.m. and then I'm going to eat. A little extra austerity. Simply, Krishna, I'm going to show you I want to stand in my spiritual position. And Krishna will be very happy with that. So Bhishma Dev, he is one of our supreme examples of being beyond the material body. Our Srila Prabhupada, many others. And it might be said that, you know, these souls, they're very, very empowered by Krishna. But that doesn't mean that we can't become empowered like that. Maybe not as much. Because you know, although we just discussed some kind of mechanical exercises, without, it is Krishna who will give us the strength. It is Lord Balaram Nityananda specifically, who gives this transcendental mental strength to be transcendental. It is a power, it's a potency, it's an ability. And we definitely need to ask Krishna for this, more of this ability. We have to pray to our spiritual master. And of course, we have to follow the sadhana. The sadhana will give us the majority of the ability. If we're following the basic program of rising early and chanting and everything, that will definitely give us a good amount of extra strength. But then beyond that, we certainly have to pray. You know, it's not just lifting weights mechanically and I'm going to become a super yogi. We can make some progress, but to become like this, Bhishma did, or Srila Prabhupada, that requires special potency given by Krishna. And we pray for that. I don't have the ability to tolerate my mind. Someone just looks at me cross-eyed and I get upset with them sometimes. So rather than become, it's an option. So then if we can't do something, instead of feeling bad about it, or just feeling helpless, or wanting to give up, that moment is the moment to pray to Krishna. And Krishna will put us in those situations of being powerless. You can, that's guaranteed. Because Krishna wants us to wake up to the fact that we are dependent. And he may, if he thinks it's the right thing, he may take away some of our mental strength or something. And then we really have to pray. Really have to go, Krishna, I have no power to do this on my own. I am powerless, helpless without you. Please kindly help. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Hare. And we ask for help. Srila Prabhupada has said we're going to learn that. Maybe some of us don't need to learn it as much as others. But this mentality of feeling powerless and incapable, and that's not always something we like. You know, we like to feel that I can do my work, I'm doing my work, I'm doing my household job. We don't like to feel, you know, you get very sick and you're very weak and you can hardly move. And usually most of us don't like that. We don't like that. But the fact of the matter is that we actually are. It is whatever, we do have ability, but it's given by God. Within the course of a day or 2 days, someone who's coming out of anesthesia, as Kirtika may share with us, they're useless. Anyone who's been put under to go to sleep, when you first wake up, useless. Just, you don't even know where you are. So easily and so quickly we can be put in that position. Some of us are younger than others, and we may have a good amount of strength and power. So Krishna will arrange so that we have a healthy balance of having power, but in dependence on Krishna. That yes, I can act a little bit by Bhishma Dev, but it's only by the grace of Krishna. Like this, yeah. So this is very, very wonderful. Also in the fifth canto, there's another very descriptive, very graphic narrative of someone who is really transcendental. I mean, they're not just talking about it, they actually are. And that is the story of Jud Bharat. In the fifth canto, part 1. And it's an amazing, amazing a scientific discussion of how we, the soul, interact with our body and interact with our mind. What is the thinking of someone who's really transcendental? What kind of thoughts go through their head? So it gives us an opportunity to understand our own progress and push ourselves. Let me become more like that. The bodily concept of life. You know, we are practicing bhakti yoga, which is love of Krishna. Our aim is to revive Krishna prema. We are not practicing some kind of mechanical, physical kind of yoga practice. But on the other hand, if any of us think that we can skip somehow and just skip over this, I'm not this body, aham brahmasmi, and living like that. And we're just going to jump into loving Krishna as a little cowherd boy, Damodar, feeding him. It won't work. It will not work. That's how we get sahaja. We may have heard this word sahaja. One type of sahaja is they think they can skip over the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Just to put it simple, we can skip that. We just hear the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And there are certain groups of devotees who that somehow that they lean much more in that way. But that is not the instruction of Lord Krishna. It's not the instruction of Lord Chaitanya or our Srila Prabhupada. We begin at the beginning with the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And that will enable us to truly, gradually develop into very solid devotion. So that our love of Krishna is not just, as one sannyasi said, Radha Krishna this, Radha Krishna that, but you can't even keep your pants on. To put it very graphically, you can't even tolerate a little itching, which is what it is. Itching to eat, itching for sex, itching for this, itchadwesha. You know, that verse that we were just, itchadwesha, it's interesting, that word itcha. It's spelled I-C-C-H-A, but it's pronounced itcha. So by practicing the itching, whatever it is, that will help us to tolerate all kinds of disturbances. So it's very, very important to, and it doesn't require, you know, we don't have to be a scholar. We don't, you know, just read second chapter Bhagavad Gita, hear Srila Prabhupada talk about Krishna consciousness, and then we'll understand. And then if we practice it, you know, make it real, put it, live it. Just like our Srila Prabhupada, he lived Bhagavad Gita. I didn't come from a religious family. There was no talk of God in the house that I came from. And I had some intellectual faith in God. I suppose I had a little heartfelt, but I never thought about God. It just wasn't, if you can imagine that, it just wasn't something that was talked about. I had friends, school friends, they were Catholic, Jewish, but So when I met the devotees, I had been reading about astral traveling and leaving the body, stuff like that. And I used to read a lot, but I became convinced the Vedas had perfect knowledge. Somehow I had that idea. So when I met the devotees, I had a lot of confidence that they're speaking about the Vedas. They're speaking about these transcendental things. Then I found out it was all about God. That was, I mean, not that I didn't know to begin with, but I didn't pay attention to it so much. I just kind of focused on the yogi type of things a little bit. Where was I going with that? So as I began to read Bhagavad Gita in the first few weeks, Krishna very kindly let me see. That's the word to describe it. I was reading the Bhagavad Gita and I thought, wow, this person is actually living it. I mean, he actually is. All the different verses in the 10th chapter, that my devotees are always satatam kitayantos mam, hearing and chanting about me. They derive great pleasure in talking about me. And here was this person who had spent his whole life doing that. And not only that, at the age of 26, they dedicated themselves to, what does Lord Krishna say in the 18th chapter? There is no one more dear to me than one who preaches the science of bhakti. So I didn't, it was just like an observation that, wow, this person must be so dear to me, so dear to God. So this helped me to have confidence that here was someone who was real, which helped me to listen and learn and ask questions. It was once I heard in 1975, there was a big gathering of devotees in Atlanta in the United States. And it was at the very height of the book distribution. Everything was book distribution. Everything was distributing books. Everything was sharing Bhagavad Gita with everyone as much as possible, as soon as possible. Books, 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 books. So Srila Prabhupada was there. And one of the book distributors asked the question. And some think that maybe it's what's called a loaded question. A loaded question, it means you ask something and you're pretty sure what the answer is going to be. And you have a purpose. So this devotee asked, what will please you the most? So everyone expected naturally that he would say, distribute my book. And everyone would be, rah, rah, distribute book. Which of course he does, and Lord Krishna does. But he said that you love Krishna. Apparently, even beyond that, it is not the activity, but you be Krishna conscious. It's nice to do a lot of service. Some of us may have business abilities and we make hundreds of pounds that we give to the temple, whatever it might be. And some of us may be pretty good managers. We help with management, or cooking, or deity worship, whatever it may be. But more important than all of that is being real. Actually being within our heart, living and breathing Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, that won't go on for very long. We may be making lots of money now, and we may even feel a little pride. or people may talk about, oh, you give so much money. You're such a good manager. You're such a good deity servant. You're such a good mother, such a good father. But if we're not Krishna conscious, it'll just go up and down, or all kinds of crazy, horrible things have happened. Some of us may know. Because we were not deep enough. We were doing the external too much without enough attention to the internal. And the thing about it is that in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we don't like to hear about Krishna to one degree or the other. We don't have to admit it. We don't have to raise our hand. But not always, at every minute, are we interested to hear about how we're not this body, and we should give up sense gratification, and give up sex life, and give up this, and don't do this. And who wants to hear that? You'd have to be some crazy person to want to hear that. Or self-realized. So therefore, we have to push ourselves. It is entirely possible for us. I know I've done it. I still have a tendency to do it. To do anything other than hear about Krishna. And sometimes our mind will give us the most noblest of excuses. Oh, I'm putting away all the deity dresses. Oh, I'm staying up late doing this for Krishna. I'm doing that for, and really, the God honest truth is that we don't want to stop and just hear about Krishna. It doesn't feel like a happy thing to do. We're having more fun just moving around, running around, doing this, doing that. But Srila Prabhupada will be very, very pleased with it. Krishna will be very, very pleased with it. It is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves, to push ourselves to hear about Krishna, hear lectures, read, study, talk about Krishna. Seems like it. So I guess we'll stop here. Any questions or comments, or any disagreement, whatever.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. And we now understand what really consciousness is. Any questions or comments? Prabhuji, there is one question I have, and maybe I think you might have even gave us the answer for it, but I still want to ask us. We've been trained to feel that we should never be helpless, or we should never be powerless, and we shouldn't tell anybody that we are powerless and helpless. And that's how the training is, and we've been brought up that way. It is supposed to be weak-minded people who always says, "Oh, help me! I'm helpless," or about. So, Prabhuji, am I mixing it up? Is it because in the material world, we have to show that we are not weak, and we are not meek, but in the spiritual world, we should be meek and helpless, or
internal? Yes. Yeah, internally. There's no harm being bold and strong. But Arjuna, look at Bhishma. Look at Srila Prabhupada. So strong, really strong, bold. But within Krishna consciousness. This is only possible by your grace, by my following your instructions. So yeah, that we shouldn't think that being a devotee means we always have to be humble and always be meek and whatever will serve Krishna the best. That's what.
Thank you very much.
It is
just needed.
Some cultures have it more than others. it's not universal, but the British culture, God forbid anyone knows there's anything. I have anemia, I have cataract, God forbid. God forbid anyone know my marriage has been crumbling for years. Just don't let anyone know. So, I mean, everyone has it, I do, the whole world. But it's a little ridiculous considering how imperfect we are. And it's a real relief as we become more comfortable with the understanding that we're not God. As we become more comfortable with the fact that I'm not perfect. That doesn't mean I shouldn't try, but I'm not perfect. And if someone points something out about me that I'm not perfect, that's no news. It's only when we think, right? We could only become upset or disturbed when someone says, "Oh, you're not doing that right. You put the deity turban on crooked." Oh, I must have. I'm entirely capable of putting the deity turban on crooked or burning the doll or whatever it may be. Then it certainly, even in the ordinary sense, so much more peaceful not having to bluff, within, not having to, which doesn't mean necessarily we share everything with everyone. That's not what we're talking about. But at least when we're with other people, whoever it may be, we would be less, we would be more at peace. We're not trying to put up some kind of false presentation. Wow, that uses so much energy.
Thank you very much. Yes, the British have a stiff upper lip, so.
Here's something, just as an aside. If you're with someone who seems to be very critical and very fault-finding, even a teacher, you can mention at the right time. You can say, I've never met anyone who never makes a mistake. And for myself, the week or the month that I never make a mistake or have some kind of imperfection, then I'll start pointing fingers at others. Sometimes the person will get the message. Just back off. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Of course, as teachers and parents, we have to point out things. But, we all know some people, because they're so critical with themselves, It's so unpleasant. Who do you think you are? Some other questions or discussions?
Any other questions or discussions? Yes, Arya Govind Prabhu, kindly unmute and ask your question. But before you do that, I see that we have a new devotee who has joined us, Gurbar Charan Kiran. It's a pleasure to have. Is it possible to switch on your videos so we can welcome you to the... Okay, maybe it is not conducive. Arya Govind Prabhu, kindly ask your question.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. I was just thinking on the comment and the question made by Kirtika Mataji that if someone if you want to point out something on somebody, so it should be done in such a way that you should convey the message, but it should not hurt the opponent. So I mean, I've heard somewhere Prabhupada saying this. There is a way that yes.
Lord Chaitanya was well known for being gentle. He would be in debate and he would defeat the person, but he would do it in a way the person didn't feel bad. He would be gentle. And Krishna will give us the intelligence how to do that. which in modern terms, so to speak, you lead with a positive. Boy, you've really been doing this good lately. I appreciate that. You may not be aware that you've been missing it every Saturday. So see if you can keep track. So then it's just lead.
Thank
with
you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed what you said.
Yeah, lead with a positive, and also something. Srila Prabhupada recommends that, especially with superior person, take a humble position. That I think my ears aren't working. I could swear when you're chanting, you say, Hari Brahma. So at least you're putting it on yourself. I thought my ears aren't working, I think, and make a little joke. But you may be able to say something. Sometimes we need to do that somehow. Have a conversation with a superior, if we can. But that, very humbly, very, very humbly. I don't think I even know what I'm talking about, but I've heard someone say, and so I'm asking you, I don't quite understand what you're doing. So we're not pinning them down, right?
Yes,
And
Prabhu.
also, something else that crosses my mind, in the course of dealing with a devotee, whether it's family, devotees in our family or in the community, if we can honestly say that we're acting in a decent way, and the other person gets upset, we're not offending Krishna. I really offended. No, they were really overly sensitive and perhaps not so Krishna conscious, and so they really took this the wrong way. I didn't. Of course, we should always think about it, but those situations happen. We shouldn't be too hesitant. I'm going to offend a devotee. If you do it, we do it in a Krishna conscious way, with respect and politeness, and how they feel about it, that's between them and Krishna. We didn't do anything, right?
True.
Yeah. All right. Did you have additional question or comment?
No, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Are there any additional comments or questions? I know we have exhausted our time.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I just wanted to mention the fact and say thank you to Prabhuji for such an inspiring class. Because to develop tolerance is so important because, my mind always sometimes makes me feel sorry for myself. So I've learned, hopefully I'll be able to strengthen my sadhana and learn to tolerate more. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I don't know whether I have been disconnected or something, but if you are able to hear me, I can't see the Zoom, but if you are able to hear me, kindly end the session, somebody.
Yes, we can hear you, Mataji.
Okay, but my screen has just gone blank. So if there are no more questions, Arya Govind Prabhu, can you please close the session?
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for this class, and also stressing the point on the internal consciousness, what we are supposed to have in every situation, and live according to the Bhagavad Gita. Try living ourselves according to the Bhagavad Gita. So thank you so much for this, Prabhu. I request all the devotees assembled to unmute and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 1 in glorification of His Grace Dina Sharan Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Vacha,
Panchakalpasya, Asititaicha, Pasitanam Pavanebhyo,
Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sharan Prabhu ki jai. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Same time tomorrow, 5 o'clock in the UK and 8 o'clock here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.